Hi, everybody. This is Joe Joseph, and this is your dailysheeple.com daily news brief. Let's start today with the revelations of, well, looks like Hillary's nightmare has gone from bad to worse with regards to these emails. Of course, WikiLeaks has done a bang-up job releasing a lot of these emails from John Podesta. But boy, it looks like it just got infinitely worse. Wall Street Journal and the DailyMail.com are now reporting that Anthony Weiner's laptop holds up to 650,000 emails, thousands of them from Clinton's private email server, and the search is going to take weeks. I'm going to get into that in a second. But the Democrat faces an ongoing FBI probe, even if she's elected. I don't know how they're going to avoid this, but I have a theory on why this is coming out now the way it is. It says the renewed FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton's handling of classified material could take weeks because agents have found 650,000 emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Of course, you know that Weiner's going through this investigation for a sexting scandal involving a 15-year-old girl. So the FBI had confiscated his laptop. Now, in doing so, they unearthed all this information on his laptop, but they didn't have a search warrant for this. So apparently they've obtained a search warrant. Let me go over to zerohedge.com to that real quick, and then I'll head back to that other article because this is just crazy, and it gets crazier and crazier by the day. According to zerohedge.com, the FBI has obtained a search warrant to search Huma Abedin's emails as well. It says, while we explained earlier today that the DOJ and FBI have found themselves in an awkward position of knowing that Anthony Weiner's computer contained thousands of Huma Abedin's emails sent from Hillary Clinton's private server, yet were unavailable to access them, we noted that it was only a matter of time before this particular hurdle was rectified. And a few hours later, of course, according to CBS's Jeff Pegues, in this matter of the FBI having much needed access to begin poring over Weiner's emails, now they know 650,000 emails. The FBI just obtained the needed search warrant. So this is going to take a long time to go through. Now, it says back on the Daily Mail, it says the sheer volume of data means it's going to take agents until well past the election to assess the damage and to understand if any classified information leaving Clinton's server with the prospect of facing an ongoing investigation, even if she's elected president. I mean, this is crazy. It says complicating matters was the fact that they hadn't obtained a search warrant. They now have it. But this explains why FBI Director Comey went straight to Congress and notified them what was going on. That's step one. But there seems to be more of a interesting twist to this. And the twist to me is, isn't it convenient that this comes out now? And a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? How is it possibly convenient for Hillary Clinton? Well, you have a lame duck president in the White House, right? This comes out now. It's going to take weeks to figure out what's there, according to sources and the FBI. And in the meantime, what does it take attention away from? It's taking all the attention away from voter fraud, right? Because that was front and center in the news stream. Everybody was focusing on voter fraud here, voter fraud there, this state, that state, every state. Voter fraud-a-palooza. Now, all of a sudden, these emails come out. Now, the FBI and the NSA have had access to all of her emails, anything leaving that server, they've had access to just from their database in Buffalo, Utah, right? Because they capture everything. And all they would have had to do is go to that database. The FBI has access, according to NSA whistleblower William Binney, They have access to this database. They could have gone to this database at any time and recovered any emails that they want. They didn't need to go through all this. But they did anyway, right? This is why this is a smokescreen. So it takes weeks to get through. Meanwhile, you get attention deflected away from voter fraud, and you're going to see the mainstream media is going to go full tilt on these emails. Election happens. Hillary's elected president. And I'm still, I don't know about you, but to me, it doesn't matter who gets elected. It's evil either way you cut it. I know a lot of people like Trump. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Me love you long time still. But I'm telling you, wolf in sheep's clothing there. And then with all the massive fraud that's going on, I can't imagine, personally, how Hillary doesn't get in, even with the groundswell of popularity that Trump really has. But she gets into office, let's say she's elected. There's Obama. Now, what's it going to stop him from pardoning her? So he pardons her, right? Got to remember, Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was, he was as guilty can be and caught red-handed on tape. And Gerald Ford said, in the interest of closure and bringing the country together, I'm going to pardon Richard Nixon. Very controversial. It cost him any hope at re-election or at election, period, because he wasn't elected, remember. And what happens? People are pissed, but people got over it. And I can see that Gerald Ford type of situation rear its head again. Here he is, Obama on his way out. Let's pardon Hillary. Now, that'll do two things, right? That's either going to make the problem go away or it's going to piss people off and add further fuel to the fire, which can add to your civil unrest scenarios. So if the election doesn't piss people off enough for there to be civil unrest, I would think pardoning Clinton would probably piss some people off again or add fuel to that fire that might spark civil unrest, which is exactly what your active and reserve military, your Homeland Security, and FEMA are preparing for at mock cities starting today. This is what they're preparing for. And look, you can say what you want about whether voting counts or everything like that. It's an illusion of choice. You have a right to go do what you want to do. Everybody has free will. But I can tell you that all it's there to do is to make you feel good, to make you feel like you've made a difference, when in reality you haven't made a difference at all. That what you're going to get has already been planned out. On the one hand, you've got Hillary, the champion of globalism, the champion of criminality, of corruption. That's what you get, right? Powers that shouldn't be like that. Why? Because they can just keep their globalist thing going, doing globalist things, robbing from the poor, having that chasm between the top 1% and the bottom 99% just widen and widen and widen. They'll get their way if Hillary's elected. Now Trump gets elected. Now you have nationalism, which will give the powers that shouldn't be more and more justification for the war scenario. Now, a lot of people say that Hillary is the one that would take us to war. I'm not necessarily convinced about that because it's not in her criminal best interest to be able to do that, or to do that because she won't profit as much should she go ahead and do that. However, if Trump gets in, now the powers that shouldn't be are going to push Trump's buttons. And you know that Trump's a hothead. He's a New Yorker. So he's a I'm not going to take shite from anybody type of guy. And not only that, but you've also got that nationalistic type of mentality. Again, I liken what's going on now to pre-World War II Germany, which is exactly the scenario we have setting up here in the United States. I also want to take a look at, or bring your attention to the fact that during that time, there was an attempted coup to try and bring down President Roosevelt and install a fascist dictator into the presidency in the 1930s, only to be foiled by General Smedley Butler. And we have a very similar situation unfolding now, only with the elections. And it's a giant joke, folks. This election is a giant joke. And all I can say is, if you're a man or a woman of honor, of integrity, and it means something to you, I'm going to beg you to not put your name on that line. And don't be complicit. And don't have some culpability so that when or if your person gets into the office, that you don't bear some measure of responsibility for what they do once they get there. Because there is. Look, at the end of the day, we have to understand that all of our actions have power. And the real power lies in us taking it back. And the way you take it back is not participating in broken systems. I see a lot of people out there, oh, I pray for Trump. I pray for Trump. Look, be careful what you wish for. And be careful with him. He says a lot of good things, and I've seen his contract, right? Says a lot of good things in there. But a lot of those things in that contract require congressional approval. He also says in his contract, that he wants to do things by the Constitution. Yet in 2013, Mr. Trump was for extrajudicial killings in wanting to kill Edward Snowden for what he did. Without a trial, without anything like that, let's just go kill him. He's a traitor. You know what we do to traitors? We kill them. Okay. Don't think he was too much of a traitor. If anything, he showed that our government is a traitor against its own people. And that can't be tolerated. And if you are a man that is standing up or a champion for the people, then you would embrace when somebody comes forward and shows anti-constitutional behavior. So that's a problem. And I guess it's getting so bad now that Hillary has just gone and started campaigning at bars in Florida on Sunday morning in the morning, right? It's 12 o'clock somewhere. Time for a Bloody Mary. It's getting that bad. I mean, her main squeeze, Huma, is probably going to be indicted because she had said under oath that she had turned over all the devices that possibly could have emails. Oops. Yeah, forgot about that one. 650,000 emails, yeah. Of course, maybe she won't be indicted, because maybe she's high enough up in the food chain to where she's above the law. A lot of people out there say, well, is there, if you're not, these anarchists, they run crazy, they want destruction, they want chaos. No, what we have really in the United States is a perceived rule of law. See, to have rule of law, or as it says on the Supreme Court building, if you go to the Supreme Court building, there's a saying right out on front. It says, equal justice under the law. Okay. If the law doesn't apply to everybody from the top on down, then you basically have anarchy or a perceived rule of law, but you really don't have the rule of law. So in the United States, my friends, we don't have the rule of law. It's gone. Been gone for a long time. The law only applies to certain people, and that's us, the peasantry. Yeah. Unless we get our pitchforks and our torches and maybe get PO'd a little bit. But then again, the answer isn't violence. The answer is non-participation. The answer is sit on your duff. The answer is shut the country down. You don't need violence to do that. You just need to stay home. Stay home for a week, 2 weeks, a month. See what happens. You're going to get infinitely farther than you would if you stormed Washington. In Venezuela, you even have something similar going on down there. Nicolas Maduro, the president, threatened on Friday, according to Yahoo News, to jail his political opponents if they follow through on their vow of launching a legislative trial to remove him from power. So they're not even talking about storming Washington or storming Caracas or anything like that. They're talking about maybe bringing him up on charges. Oh, yeah, I'm going to jail you. Like a baby, like a freaking coward. That's what's happening here in the United States. Only it's not as quite out in the open. But this is what we have to do. Maintain the moral high ground. Don't get crazy. We don't need to get violent. All we need to do is not do anything. Don't go to work. If you're going to, how about put your taxes in escrow? Stop sending them to Washington. If you do that, enough people do it, you're going to get attention. You go to court? No, judge. They're sitting right here. But my government's out of control. And I cannot, from a moral standpoint, support this. And until they come correct and follow the law, there it is, collecting interest for them. That's all they got to do. Just do what we did, what we said, or we voted for, which is when you go to serve and become a representative, that you do not only what's in your constituency's best interest, but do what you swore an oath to do, which is follow the Constitution. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Yet it's so hard. So hard. And people get roped into the divide and conquer so easily because it's an appeal to emotion. And you have to not let it get to you that way. You have to maintain a level head. We have to maintain the moral high ground. And we have to think out of the box and come up with a different approach to things. Because your standard traditional approaches don't work anymore. But there are some tried and true methods that have shown resounding success in the past and will show resounding success in the future. And individuals like Gandhi and Dr. King have shown that non-violence and non-participation can go infinitely farther in affecting positive, real change than any sort of violent uprising. And when you do that, and when you maintain that moral high ground, as you see in Venezuela, the real colors start to shine through. And you start to see exactly who and what are driving these people in power. And it's certainly not from a position of light, a position of good. And that's when the people that are asleep can then see what's really going on and their eyes will open. But it won't happen unless we go ahead and do the simple yet hard thing to do, which is step back and not participate. So I humbly ask everybody, as we go through this next week, 8 days to the 2016 selection, that you kindly consider not participation, not because I'm telling you, but because if you do, then you will bear a responsibility, albeit minute. And whoever gets put into office, not to mention the fact that it's basically signing on the dotted line to say, hey, this is my gal. This is my guy. And every time that person drone strikes somebody, anytime they enter into an illegal war, anytime they perhaps do something to bolster the police state, that was your guy. That was your gal. That was the one that you prayed so hard for to enter into office, only to be disappointed yet again. But I have another solution to the problem, believe it or not. And I'll close with this. It came out of North Carolina. And this is the BladdenJournal.com that's reporting it. It says the annual Beast Fest brought out the beast in two attendees Saturday and resulted in charges being filed between two North Carolina House of Representative candidates. That's right. According to witnesses, Republican District 46 candidate Brendan Jones and Democratic candidate Tim Benton were exchanging words Saturday afternoon at the main entrance to the festival near US 242. Now, this was witness testimony. It says some flyers had evidently been circulating saying Mr. Benton was involved in a white supremacy group and he was accusing Mr. Jones of being responsible for the flyers. This according to Woody Hester, an eyewitness. Mr. Hester continues, he says Mr. Jones told him he wasn't responsible for the flyers and there wasn't anything he could do about it, and he suggested they continue the conversation across the street away from the crowd. Now, Mr. Benton kept nudging him with his shoulder the whole time when they were walking across. And then he just stepped back and cold cocked him. Now, to beat all, Mr. Benton left a little child in a stroller to walk across the street. And if Mr. Jones's companion hadn't caught her, the child would have rolled into the street. Now, the Bladenboro Police Department was called to the scene, but the police chief, his name is Hunt, said the officers didn't witness anything and that both Benton and Jones departed saying that they were going to the magistrate's office to file charges against one another. So this has led to a possible solution for everybody. Since there's rampant voter fraud that goes on, I have a solution. And this is it. So we narrow it down to two candidates, okay? We narrow it down to two candidates. Now, whether it be Democrat or Republican or a third-party candidate, those two candidates are going to go into Thunderdome. And they're going to fight to the death. And the one that comes out of Thunderdome gets to go become a senator or a congressman or woman or the president, whatever. Now, it's going to do two things. First of all, it's going to limit the amount of people because normally the powers that shouldn't be and their cronies are cowards. So they won't get into that. And you're probably only going to have real people that go in there that really want to make change, so much so that they're willing to die for it. But then once they get there and they're done their 2 or 6 or 4 years or however many years that office has, they're probably not going to do it again. So term limits aren't going to be a problem because they're like, dang, I don't know if I want to do that all over again. Problem solved. All we need is Thunderdome. And I think that we can turn this country around. This was your Daily Sheeple Daily News Brief, brought to you by thedailysheeple.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today, The Daily Sheeple, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thunderdome, yeah!